Greetings gastronauts, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to show you how to do this marvellous thing, Millionaire Shortbread. For your shortbread you'll need 150 grams of plain white all-purpose flour, 150 grams of unsalted butter, 75 grams of granulated sugar, a quarter of a teaspoon of salt, and 75 grams of something else. This is rice flour, or you could use semolina or medium cornmeal, and it's just to give a little bit of crunch to the shortbread. Nom. And your butter, you want it to be room temperature, and you'll get on easier if you chop it into little bits like that. Now before you do anything else, you want to get your oven preheating to 160 degrees Celsius if it's a fan oven, convection oven, or 180 if it's a conventional one, or gas mark 3 if it's gas. You'll also need a well buttered tin. This is 20 centimeters square, about 8 inches. You could also use a circular cake tin with a removable bottom, but Millionaire Shortbread is usually cut into like fingers or rectangles, so a circular one would leave a lot of waste which the chef would have to eat. Tempting. So let's make up our shortbread. I won't call it a dough, there's no liquid in it. It's very dry, it's just a collection of crumbs really. There's the sugar. Don't put all the salt in, just a quarter of a teaspoon. Just mix those all together. I did a trial run yesterday. I used my KitchenAid mixer, which really, I overmixed it and it didn't turn out well, so I'm doing it by hand. Put the butter in, separate all the bits, and then with your fingertips you just want to rub the butter in, break up all the bits and get them coated in flour, and after a few minutes you end up with something that looks like coarse sand. If you've ever wondered why shortbread is called shortbread, or why any sort of baking thing is described as short, like short crust pastry, short in baking means crumbly, as in possibly the fibres in it are short because the gluten doesn't develop because there's such a high proportion of fat in it. I sometimes wonder how people come up with ideas like this, because at this point I look at this and say that wouldn't work. So just pop that in the tin and press it down. There's quite a lot there actually, there's more than the one I made yesterday. Anyway, just flatten it with a spatula. And then prick it all over with a fork. And then that goes in the oven for 25 to 35 minutes. So while your shortbread's baking, you can make up the caramel-y sauce. It's not really caramel, but it is yummy. And so for that you'll need 175 grams of granulated sugar, 175 grams of unsalted butter, a 400 gram can of condensed milk, and, oh, you don't need the chocolate yet, about half teaspoon of coarse sea salt, and about a third of a cup of golden syrup. So that's about 80 grams. Oh, look at that. Okay, 25 minutes. There's our pale golden shortbread. Actually, we'll give it another 5 or 10 minutes because that's way too soft. Nobody really seems to know where the name Millionaire Shortbread comes from. It's well accepted that shortbread itself comes from Scotland and has been made really at least since the 16th century, so it's quite old. But Wikipedia says that Millionaire Shortbread only really appeared in print for the first time in the 1970s in Australian Woman's Weekly. It's possible that, you know, it was being made before that and it was being called different things. I've heard it called caramel slice or caramel shortbread, even though, you know, it's not bread and it's not got caramel in it really. Another suggestion is because it's so expensive, because, you know, some of the ingredients, well, it stacks up, and only a millionaire can afford to make it or buy it. So it's a mystery, but the suggestion that I like best is it's called that because there's about 1 million calories in it, and I don't think that's far wrong. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Yeah, that's much better. Well, yeah. So put that on one side and let it cool down completely and get on with making that sauce. I've got the golden syrup standing in a bowl of very hot water because that will help it flow more easily. And by the way, if you can't get golden syrup where you live, you can make your own, and I've got a video on that which I'll post a link to somewhere. I need to open my condensed milk using the rarely used can opener. Get your butter melting in a small pan and add the condensed milk. Give that a little stir, turn the heat down, and then add the sugar. I didn't want to add the sugar too soon because there's a risk of it crystallizing. And the golden syrup. So you want that to come to a simmer and then, you know, let it cook for about 10 minutes to thicken up. Okay, that's looking about right. So I'll add my ½ teaspoon of sea salt, stir that in, and then we'll let that cool down a little bit. Right, ready to begin a bit of assembly. So I'm just easing the shortbread away from the side of the tin and then just pour on the sauce. Ooh, look at that. We have quite a lot left over. Never mind. So leave that to set completely. Actually, I might put it in the fridge. Couple of shout outs, one to my new fan on Patreon, Oompa Shroompa, and also a whisper to a super fan who wishes to remain anonymous, but thank you anyway, much appreciated. Okay, there's the caramel set pretty firmly. Now chocolate to layer on the top. So most recipes say just use dark chocolate. I actually find that a bit too dark, so I'm using a mix of dark chocolate and milk chocolate. And what you do is chuck them in a bowl and chuck them in the microwave. Well, actually keep a couple of bits behind because we'll kind of temper the chocolate using those. So put it in the microwave, give it 30 seconds initially. Give it a little stir, give it another 30 seconds, and it's starting to melt properly now, so stir it again and keep on giving it bursts of 30 seconds and stirring it until it's all lovely and melted. Nearly there. Well, I think we are there actually. Give that a good stir, make sure there's no sort of streakiness going on, and then pop the bits of reserved chocolate in, and the residual heat will melt those. And in theory that's a simple way of tempering chocolate, so it should realign the molecules and make it shiny. Something like that. Hey, those lumps of chocolate don't want to melt. Come on guys. Okay, and then, well, just pour it onto your shortbread and the set sauce. And you want a nice smooth layer of chocolate on that. Well, it's not that smooth, but I'm not going to mess about with it. So let it set, chop it into bits, and ooh, I don't know, what shall we do? Eat it? Righty-ho, here's our Millionaire's Shortbread, and I don't know if I'll be able to get this out of the tin without wrecking it, but we'll have a go. Fingers crossed. Oh, it's coming, it's coming. Oh yeah, baby. Ah, oh, magic. Well, the caramel stuff is a little bit soft, but very tasty. Okay, taste test time. And look at this.
Hello.
Hey! You said you weren't doing it.
I know.
All right.
I finished work at 5.
It's been a hard day.
It's 7:45. I have just got home. I was going to cry because I've got this.
Good. All things are improved by wine and Millionaire Shortbread. aren't they?
I haven't even got to the wine yet. That. He made some yesterday. Less shortbread, more caramel. This is right. Thank you, my love.
You're welcome. So if you enjoyed that, give us a like, subscribe, comments, and give me money if you want, and things like that. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.